There was a man who spent his entire life feeling like he didn't have enough. Not enough money, not enough respect, not enough time. Every morning he woke up and counted what was missing from his life. And every night he went to sleep feeling poor. But he wasn't poor. He just didn't know how to see what he already had. This is his story. And somewhere inside it is yours too.
His name was Karim. He was a simple man who lived in a small village at the edge of a quiet valley. He had a small house with a wooden door, a modest garden where vegetables grew slowly, a wife who smiled even on hard days, and 2 children who ran barefoot through the fields and laughed like the world had no problems. By the world's measure, Karim had very little, but by another measure, one he had never learned to use, he had everything. Karim worked as a carpenter. His hands were rough, his back was tired, but every evening he came home and his children ran to him at the door. Still, Karim was restless.
He watched other men in the village, the merchant who rode a horse, the landlord who wore fine clothes, the trader whose house had 2 floors. And Karim would sit on his small porch and whisper to himself, "Why not me? Why do I work so hard and still have so little?" This thought grew inside him like a weed. It took his sleep. It stole his smile. It made him quiet at the dinner table when his children were trying to talk to him. His wife noticed. She said nothing for many weeks. She just watched and waited and prayed. One evening, Karim stood up and said, "I am going to the city. There is more for me there. I will find it." His wife looked at him gently and asked, "What exactly are you looking for?" Karim had no answer. He only knew he wanted more. He traveled to the city. The city was loud, bright, busy. Men in suits walked fast. Buildings rose high into the sky. Markets overflowed with things to buy. Karim felt small. He found work carrying heavy loads at a warehouse near the market. The pay was slightly better, but he slept on a thin mat in a crowded room with 7 other workers. No garden, no wooden door, no children running to greet him. Weeks passed. He sent money home, but at night the silence felt different, not peaceful, empty. One evening, exhausted and alone, he sat outside on a broken step and watched the city move around him. Fast, cold, indifferent. Nobody looked at him. Nobody knew his name. A strange sadness filled his chest, heavier than any load he had carried that day. There was an old man who also sat nearby every evening. He sold nothing, he asked for nothing. He simply sat with a cup of tea and watched the world. His face carried deep lines, but his eyes were calm, almost glowing. One evening, Karim asked him, "Old man, how long have you lived in this city?" The old man smiled. "Long enough to see what it gives, and long enough to see what it quietly takes away." Karim sat closer. "I came here for more," Karim said. The old man nodded slowly. "Tell me what you left behind." Karim was quiet for a moment. Then slowly, without thinking, he began to speak. He spoke about his wife, her patience, her laugh, the way she hummed while cooking. He spoke about his children, their muddy hands, the way they called his name at the door. He spoke about his small garden, the smell of rain on the soil, the morning light on the wooden walls. The old man listened to all of it. Then he said something Karim never forgot. "My friend, you just described a rich man's life. The tragedy is, that rich man didn't know he was rich." Karim returned home 3 days later. He had not found more money. He had not found a bigger life. But he returned with something money cannot buy: eyes that could finally see. When he arrived at his door, his children heard his footsteps from inside the house and burst through the door screaming his name. His wife stood in the doorway. She said nothing. She just smiled. That smile. For the first time in years, Karim felt rich. Truly, deeply, completely rich. We live in a world that is very good at showing us what we don't have. Every advertisement, every comparison, every scroll through someone else's life reminds us of our lack. But gratitude is a different kind of lens. When you look through it, the same life looks completely different. The same house becomes a home. The same meal becomes a blessing. The same ordinary Tuesday becomes a gift you almost didn't notice. You are not poor. You are distracted. Tonight, before you sleep, don't count what you're missing. Count what you have. The people who love you, the breath in your lungs, the small, quiet moments that ask for nothing and give you everything. Because somewhere in the world right now, someone is praying for the exact life you are taking for granted. You are richer than you think. You always were.